The story of Yu and Tian Xuning was once one of quiet admiration and rising love, two stars whose chemistry on screen mirrored a closeness that fans swore couldn't be just acting. But behind the smiles and staged photos, a storm was brewing, one filled with whispers, betrayal, and the kind of misunderstanding that could break even the strongest of hearts. It all started when a set photo leaked online. Yu and Tian Xuning were captured in what seemed like an intimate moment, his hand brushing hers, their faces close, lost in laughter. At first, fans celebrated it as confirmation of what they had long believed, that the two were more than co-stars. But the joy was short-lived. Within hours, the photo was twisted into a scandal. Anonymous accounts began spreading rumors that Tian Xuning was already involved with someone else, and that Yu was the one responsible for breaking them apart. The internet erupted. Yu's once glowing reputation took a sharp hit, and Tian Xuning found herself cornered by endless media questions. Their management teams rushed to control the narrative, denying any wrongdoing and labeling the photo as misinterpreted fan content. But the damage was already done. Yu, usually calm and collected, withdrew from the spotlight. Friends described him as broken, someone carrying a weight he didn't deserve. He didn't care about the rumors, said one close friend. He cared that she was hurting because of him. Tian Xuning, on the other hand, faced the cruel reality of the entertainment industry. The same fans who once adored her now questioned her character. She lost brand deals, endorsements, and projects she had worked years to earn. But through it all, she stayed silent. Not once did she speak against Yu. That silence, however, only fueled more speculation. For months, they avoided public appearances together. When asked in interviews, both offered vague answers, choosing professionalism over emotion. But their eyes always told a different story. During one award show, cameras caught Tian Xuning glancing towards Yu as he walked past her row. That single look, sad, longing, and unfinished, sparked another round of headlines, the love that never got its ending. What the world didn't know was that behind closed doors, the two were still in touch. Quietly, carefully, away from the noise. Yu reportedly reached out to her through a mutual friend, apologizing not for what people thought he did, but for not being there when she needed him most. That message, according to insiders, changed everything. They began meeting secretly, often in the late hours after work. No glamour, no stylists, just two people trying to piece together what had been torn apart by lies. And slowly, they began to heal. They talked for hours, said a crew member from one of their recent shoots. They didn't talk about fame or the industry. They talked about who they used to be, before the world got in the way. As months passed, the tone around their names began to shift. Instead of scandal, fans started using words like redemption, healing, and forgiveness. A new rumor began circulating, not about cheating or betrayal, but about reconciliation. When Tian Xuning posted a simple photo of a coffee cup with the caption, "Some things are worth starting again," fans immediately noticed Yu's subtle like. It was the confirmation they'd been waiting for. Soon after, they both appeared at the same charity event. It was their first public outing in over a year. Though they arrived separately, cameras caught them exchanging a brief smile, one that seemed to erase the pain of the past. That moment became one of the most replayed clips online, captioned with comments like "They made it through" and "Real love never fades." In a later interview, Yu finally addressed the scandal, not in anger, but with honesty. "Sometimes," he said softly, "people will write stories about you that aren't true. But what matters is who believes in your truth when the world doesn't." Tian Xuning echoed his sentiment in her own quiet way. "The hardest part isn't being misunderstood," she said. "It's staying kind when you are." Their words resonated deeply, not only with fans but with others in the industry who saw how easily public opinion can destroy lives. Yet, instead of bitterness, Yu and Tian Xuning chose grace. They didn't seek revenge or public pity. They simply moved forward, together, quietly rebuilding the trust that had been nearly shattered. When news broke that the two would be starring in a new romantic drama, ironically titled Truth and Lies, the internet went wild. Critics called it a bold move, fans called it destiny. The chemistry between them was undeniable, even more powerful than before. Every look, every touch felt genuine, as if the camera was finally capturing their real story. By the time the show premiered, it wasn't just a hit, it was a phenomenon. The audience connected deeply, sensing that what they were watching wasn't fiction, it was the reflection of two souls who had endured, forgiven, and learned to love again. The scandal that once threatened to destroy them had, in a strange way, brought them closer. It stripped away everything superficial and left behind something real. Yu and Tian Xuning's story became more than gossip. It became a testament to resilience, to truth, and to the quiet power of love that refuses to die, even when the world tries to bury it. Because sometimes the greatest love stories aren't the ones that begin perfectly, they're the ones that survive the storm and still find the strength to stand in the light. As the months went by, Yu and Tian Xuning's love story continued to evolve, not in the spotlight, but in the small, meaningful ways that spoke louder than any headline ever could. After their drama Truth and Lies became one of the biggest hits of the year, offers began to pour in. Brands, magazines, and directors wanted them everywhere. Yet, they both agreed to take a step back. Fame had once nearly destroyed them, and this time, they wanted to protect what mattered most, their peace and each other. For the first time in years, Yu took a break from acting. Instead, he spent time painting, something he had always loved but never had time for. Those close to him said that many of his paintings were inspired by Tian Xuning, her silhouette, her laughter, her quiet strength. One of those paintings, titled The Calm After the Storm, later went viral when fans discovered it hanging in an art gallery under an anonymous artist's name. But the brushstrokes, the emotion, it was clear to anyone who looked closely. It was Yu's work. Tian Xuning, meanwhile, found a new purpose. She began volunteering at a foundation for young women pursuing arts and film. In interviews, she said it was her way of giving back after nearly losing everything to public scrutiny. "It's easy to feel small when the world turns on you," she shared softly. "But if I can help someone stand tall again, then all the pain I went through has meaning." Despite their individual paths, Yu and Tian Xuning still found time to meet in the quiet corners of Seoul, book cafes, night parks, even small food stalls where no one expected to see two of the country's biggest stars. They didn't need the glamour. They just needed each other. One evening, they were spotted walking along the Han River. It wasn't planned, and they didn't care about hiding anymore. Yu was holding a takeaway coffee cup. Tian Xuning had a small bouquet of daisies, his favorite flowers. When a fan recognized them and started recording, they simply smiled. There was no panic, no denial, just two people at peace with the truth. That short clip, lasting barely 10 seconds, became one of the most talked about moments online. The caption, "They're not hiding anymore." In a later interview, Yu addressed that video for the first time. At some point, he said, "You stop running from love. Because real love doesn't care about being perfect. It just needs to be honest." Those words hit fans deeply. Even the harshest critics who once doubted them began to see the sincerity behind their actions. They weren't playing roles anymore. They were living their truth. But as their love found stability, life threw another curveball. Tian Xuning received an offer to film abroad for nearly 8 months. It was a dream role, something she had worked toward for years. Yu encouraged her to take it, even though he knew it would mean months apart. "We've already proven we can survive distance," he told her. "Now, let's prove we can thrive through it." The separation was hard, but it also reminded them of the foundation they had built. They wrote letters instead of texting every day, handwritten, sealed, and sent through private couriers. Each letter carried a piece of their hearts, reminding them that time apart could never erase what was meant to be. When Tian Xuning returned, the reunion was quiet but deeply emotional. She arrived at his home late in the evening, exhausted from travel. Yu opened the door and simply pulled her into his arms. No words, no explanations, just the sound of relief, love, and the unspoken promise that they were home again. Over time, fans noticed subtle changes in both of them. Yu's work became softer, more emotional, filled with compassion. Tian Xuning glowed differently, grounded, calm, and at peace. Their love had matured. It wasn't the fiery passion that burned at the start. It was now a steady flame, unshakable and enduring. Their journey also became a lesson to the entertainment industry. Young artists began looking up to them, not just for their talent but for their resilience. They became symbols of how love, when rooted in honesty, could survive even the darkest scandals. When ZU released a new song titled Unbroken, fans instantly connected the lyrics to their story. The lines, even when they tried to end us, love stayed true / even when the silence grew loud, I still found you, spread across social media. Within hours, it topped streaming charts, and fans dubbed it the song for Tian Xuning. In response, Tian Xuning posted a single photo on her social page, ZU's song playing in the background, with the caption, "Always proud of you." It was simple, heartfelt, and exactly what their fans had come to expect from them: real emotion, no pretenses. Years later, when they finally appeared together on a talk show, the host asked what kept them together despite everything they had been through. ZU smiled gently before saying, "Love isn't about what happens when things are easy. It's about who you hold on to when everything gets hard." Tian Xuning nodded, her voice steady but warm. "And sometimes," she added, "the world needs to see that love stories can have second chances too." Their story, once tainted by scandal, had become one of healing and hope. They had proven that even in an industry built on illusion, truth and love could still shine through. ZU and Tian Suning's journey wasn't just a romance. It was a reminder that forgiveness, patience, and trust can rebuild even the most broken connections. And in a world where love stories often fade with time, there stood as proof that some hearts, once joined, will always find their way back to each other.